Okay. For those of you who just trickled in, my name is Wilkine Brutus, 𝙈𝙪𝙨𝙚𝙪. You know, I've been a journalist for about 15 years, more than that actually. I just don't want to give it up how long I've been doing this. And this is the power of Black art in fashion, because there's a symbiotic relationship between Black art and fashion. But there's a delicate balance between layering your pieces, how you dress, and the message you want to send by the clothes that you wear. With Black art, you're either trying to retain culture or push cultural boundaries. And there's always like tension between the two, right? Like the shoes that I have on right now. Mic check, mic check. The shoes, I got Adidas on right now. It might go out of style in a few years. Well, these are Sambas, they'll never go out of style. But that might be a bad example. But there are some certain types of trends that go out of style. For the longest, baggy jeans was really popular in the 90s, right? Is it back now for the young folks in the crowd? Is baggy jeans back?
Oh, it's a whole nother level of baggy.
It's a whole nother level back, right? You know, and so we went from fitted to baggy to fitted, and now it's like baggy, baggy, baggy. And so I want to start with our conversation by introducing our panelist. Please give it up for David Castro, everybody.
What up, what up, what up? So he said introducing. I guess it's me introducing, right?
You're going to introduce yourself now.
So my name is Castro. I'm the CEO and founder of Dungeon Forward. When you think of Dungeon Forward, think of it like from the Dungeon Forward or from nothing to something. I wanted to create a brand that was my life story in 2 words to inspire, uplift, and educate people. I'm an architect by trade. Don't practice anymore, but a lot of what I did learn, I use to influence everything that I create. I love to learn from all of my travels. I love to learn from some of the people that are in here. I love to incorporate culture in everything that I do, and so you'll see some of that here shortly.
All right, give it up for David, everybody. Next on our panel is Countess Brown. Give it up for y'all, Countess Brown.
Hi there. I'm Countess Brown. I'm also your local seamstress. I'm the CEO of Countess Brown Design House, where I do custom alterations. I do custom wardrobe. And I also do wardrobe for productions and cruise lines. So that's me. And you'll see some of my work very soon on here.
All right.
Fire.
And by the way, David and I went to high school together. We were in an engineering academy in high school, and we had a full circle moment last year when I interviewed him on NPR. We were like, is this happening? We were just making beats in the cafeteria.
You interviewed Hubba too, which was amazing.
Absolutely amazing. So let's start. You can stand up so we can kind of like, I don't want you to break your neck.
Yeah, no problem. So
we're going to go through his slide. Should we go with the first one?
Yeah, we can start here. So
all right, let's go with the first
at Dungeon Forward, some of the things that we like to do is really create timeless pieces. And there's a line within our brand that's called Words to Live By. I actually stole that name from my wife. I didn't know. I thought it was like I was incepted, but she's an incredible designer as well and had this idea, and now it's part of my brand, right? But within that space, we create pieces that are supposed to be constant reminders about things that should be important or things that you should seek out. In this one, you see 2 pieces that say abundance. I have a piece from that same series that says family. I'm sure it's somewhere in here as well. But the classics are oftentimes like the things I love the most, but I really get complex as well, so you'll see some of that too. So you go to the next slide. In this, just like I mentioned before, the name Dungeon Forward is like from nothing to something, right? And when I think about that, I think about having earned everything, having gotten everything from the mud is what we typically say. That's why you see no handouts, right? It's not a play on anybody that quote unquote gets a handout, but it's the idea of actually putting in the work to do something. This is also a part of the Words to Live By collection. You go to the next slide. So I mentioned I was an architect, or I am an architect, registered in the state of Florida. And as a part of that, I like to look at the tectonics of how you create product, right? And in doing that, I deconstructed headwear and I recreated something that never existed. This piece is called the Sunika Karan, which means sneaker crown in Japanese. It is one piece that we actually have a patent on, which is very difficult to get in our space because you have to prove that it's something that has never been done. So we were super excited about that. It took about 3 years for it to occur. And with this specific piece, one of the things that's really, unique about it is that you can adjust this crown on 2 different axes. Typically, when you wear a piece of headwear, and I say crown, like it's the crown piece of an outfit, it is a part of the culture. It's something that tells you that you're a part of the culture. But this one in particular, you can adjust on 2 different axes, and that's really what gave it enough for us to be able to get a patent on this piece.
And before we go to the next slide, you mentioned crown.
Yeah.
Can you describe what crown means one more time? Slowly?
Yeah, no, for sure. So we have a heavy emphasis on the word. Yeah, but way better. There was a statement in the museum that said, God created black people created style. And I feel like that's very true because style is really rooted in the deepest parts of culture. And when you go to a museum, particularly a history museum, and you look at what existed before, long before the 90s, but even in tribal form, you'll see some elements of the style that exists today.
And that's a great explanation of crown. You also mentioned Japan and the craft and the fact that you have a patent. I think typically when you see someone walking down the street with a hat on, I want to remind you, 𝙇𝙊𝙂𝙄𝙧𝙩 is a premium hat line, which means it's going through a specific kind of process. So I want you to talk about the craft of your hats.
No,
for sure. The fact that you have a patent, I think you kind of just said that as if it's not a big deal. That's a pretty damn big deal.
My bad. So I'll walk through it, right? So first and foremost, I think anybody who's a designer, anybody who's a creative, you start with your inspiration, right? And so the Sunika Quran really came from one of the things that is intrinsic to culture, intrinsic to streetwear, which is sneakers, right? Sunika means sneaker in Japanese. Quran means crown, so think of it like sneaker crown. And so that's where all of the layering came from. If you ever look at sneakers, you notice that it's always multi-layered. But beyond that, one of the things that I wanted to do and make sure that I did for my brand was create something that was autonomous to my brand. No matter what the materials were, no matter what the prints were, the colors, et cetera, you always knew that that was a 𝙇𝙊𝙂𝙄𝙧 piece, and that's what the Sunika Quran is. Because what that does is it gives you repeatable IP, like sneakers, right? You have a Jordan 1, Jordan 2, Jordan 3, Jordan 4, all of that type of stuff. That's all owned by Nike. Well, the Sunika Quran is the only headwear piece like this that is owned by a brand. And so that was something that was big for us. It's something that now I try to incorporate in my design process. Anytime you're doing something like that, you got to think 3 years in advance because that's how long it's going to take you to protect that idea.
Oh, sorry.
Go back one. Yeah, so you saw the simple version of that, and this is called the motherland, right? So when I first created the Sunika Quran, this was the one that I had in mind. But because it was so complex, in order to even do it, I had to do it plain first. I had to do it with no colors, no extraordinary materials. But ultimately, I wanted to create something that paid homage to the homeland, which is the motherland. And so in this was a mix of animal prints and also human camouflage and this idea of juxtaposing modern world with natural elements. And this became one of our best sellers. It's a classic. It's probably going to always exist. It's something that I love. I almost wore it here, but I really wanted to wear something classic. But this is literally my favorite piece. So if you want to like impress me and buy something, this would be the one. Actually, not even just buy it. You got to wear it.
And the motherland being the continent of Africa.
Yeah, and I actually had an opportunity to wear this on a safari in South Africa, which was like a crazy moment for me. One of the other things that we do that's major is my brand partners with over 41 different collegiate institutions, all historically black colleges and universities. It's a major part of my brand, and it's a proponent of who I am. I went to Florida A&M University for undergrad, University of Miami for grad school, but specifically HBCUs, this is where I probably get the most satisfaction in creating. And part of the reason is that when you create for an HBCU, you have to license it, which means that you have to pour back into the institution every time you make a sale. And so it's it's something that we're able to do to sow a seed back into these institutions that create safe spaces for people that look like me. And we get to do it while also being incredibly dope. We typically have, if not always, if not 170% of the time, the dopest headwear in the HBCU space, and it's known across the industry now, but it took us a while to get there. It's something I'm hugely proud of.
In other words, colleges across the country,
Yeah,
students
they
across
know,
the country.
they
are
know,
wearing your
they
hats.
know, they know. And these are a couple pieces. So that's Copen State, that's Xavier University in Louisiana, and that's ECSU, which is in Carolina. So as a part of other collaborations that we do, right, and I'll actually tell you a little bit about the story of this, right? In creating my brand, I always had an aspiration to work with other people, right? There's a couple folks in here that I've worked with. Nate is an incredible artist. We've done 2 collaborations together, super dope pieces. He's a super dope artist. If you want to know anything about him, look up Miami Nate on Instagram. But as a part of that, we get the opportunity to tell stories of major brands. And this one in particular was Paramount. Paramount reached out to us. They have a team, their Nickelodeon team. They saw a collaboration that we did with Airheads. The crazy thing about it, though, was before we did that collaboration with Airheads, I flew to Vegas specifically to meet with Paramount. But I didn't have an appointment, and so they kind of casted me away. So while I was there, I made the best of it, and I saw this company called Perfetti. Perfetti owned Airheads, and as a result, we ended up striking up a deal, and I did an Airheads collaboration, which was a tie back to my old school days when I was selling candy. They saw that piece, they saw all the marketing for it, and then they reached out to me, which was crazy because I never even had to have a conversation with them. As a result, we did a collaboration with Nickelodeon for these pieces that were all inspired by the show SpongeBob. Have y'all seen SpongeBob before? SpongeBob has they said 10 billion impressions every minute or something like that. I don't even know. But at the time, the meme, all right, bro, I'm out, was popular, right? And so this was something that was for us, it gave us some level of validity. Not to say we weren't already valid, but it was just dope to see somebody see us, right? And so that's why we also did it in the Sunika Quran silhouette, because we also exposed that to more people who weren't aware of our brand. So we kind of use this to fish, bring people into the culture, hey, you know SpongeBob? All right, come in. Let us introduce you to Dungeon Ford, though. All right. So
Wait. Should we quiz the audience before we?
We should. I was about to. All right. First off, you could actually just scream it out. Where's this from? All right. Because I was about to be really mad.
I was gonna walk out.
Yeah, I was gonna have to go home.
Coming to America, the film Coming to America. This is where this.
So I'm gonna tell you a funny story about this, right? Mind you, I told you we had this relationship with Paramount. Mike is not on now, but. Thank you. But before we had the relationship with Paramount, I created this McDowell's hat, right? It was initially a joke. I made 25, didn't think it was gonna be anything, and then it went crazy, right? Now, when Paramount hit us up, they sent us this document, and it's hey, these are all our properties and all our assets. And one of them was Coming to America, so I was oh. And interestingly enough, so now we have, we're going to be doing other stuff. We're Coming to America outside of the McDowell's, right? But they don't own McDowell's. You know why? Because McDowell's infringes on McDonald's. So you can't protect it, which is interesting. But we have a relationship with them now. This is a piece that we created some years ago, and they've given us the opportunity to recreate it. People love it. It got... I don't know how I want to say it, gypped or picked up or copied a little bit by Nike. I don't know if you ever saw the Nike McDowell's sneakers, but it's something that, again, gave us the stamp of being a part of culture and really influencing culture, and that was something that we really loved, that it influenced Nike, influenced other people, and so now you can see people that put them together to match, which is super dope. Another aspect of combining culture with storytelling with creating headwear for the culture. And then last but not least in this show is something that's near and dear to me, which is family. This is also a part of the Words to Live By series. And in that series, we consistently advance upon it, specifically to create things that when you look in the mirror, it constantly is reminding you of what's important. And on the side of each of them, there's a poem. And on the side of the family one, it says, "Hunt together, eat forever." And it's reminiscent of moments like this where me and my boy Wilkine get together to do things like this to just hopefully enlighten the folks in the crowd. But it's just a reminder of from whence we came. And so that's why the simplicity is important in these pieces, whereas you see in some of the other things it's much more complex, much more involved. But yeah, that's Dungeon Forward.
All right, you guys, give it up for David Castro. I also didn't start the evening by saying that guy right there, his name is 𝙇𝙊𝙂𝙄𝙧 by the door. He's the founder of FLAVARS. He's also co-produced Login, all right? So it's a venture between he and I and the Norton Museum of Art. So please give it up for 𝙇𝙊𝙂𝙄𝙧. Incredible job. Set up the cameras. An extremely hardworking guy. He's also a guy who also cultivates culture through, Black cultural activations every month, every year, you name it, he's on it. Next up, Countess Brown. Y'all give it up for Countess Brown.
Why you say my name like that?
Because you deserve it. Now,
I love it.
When we were thinking about the other person to put on the panel, he sent me her information. I was like, oh, she's dope. Oh, we need her. Not that we want her, we need her. So Countess, go off. Let us know the inspiration and the creative process behind this individual who is an artist himself.
Yes. Well, within my background, within being
Mike?
Sorry. I'm thinking I'm talking to myself. Within my background with being a seamstress, I feel like in the realm of being in South Florida, I'm like your go-to girl. So it was one night, and it's very crazy. I was kind of like in the realm where it's like, should I continue this career or should I go get a job, right? Because being a business owner, just freelancing and just hoping that, someone loves what you do on a daily, I create my two hands. I got the phone call. It was very random. It was like 9 a.m. in the morning, and it was from Canada. And I'm like, who is this? Hello? And it was like, hi, are you Countess Brown? I'm like, yes, who is this? They're like, oh, I'm 𝙈𝙪𝙨𝙯 Rocky's stylist. He performs at night at 8 p.m., and we need you to make a 3-stack denim and a 3-stack boxer pants. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, can't you go to Zara? Can't you just go buy it? No, I don't believe in fast fashion. So I got up, and I always look at opportunities like this as a blessing, especially being a Black woman and creating something out of nothing. That phrase definitely hit deep. I was given the opportunity to create for one of my favorite artists who I grew up listening to. And from that moment on, I realized that I shouldn't second guess myself. I shouldn't. I'm getting emotional. I should keep pushing forward because, using your two hands, you can manifest anything you want. Using your mind, you can manifest anything you want. So this was my manifestation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now, would I do this again? I would not do it again. I don't care for how much money, I would not do it again. No.
and we're going to stay on this.
Yes.
Obviously there's folks who are in the know and folks we have to inform. So 𝙈𝙨 Rocky is a hip-hop artist. Are they married? No?
Rihanna and 𝙈𝙨 is
But
not
just boyfriend,
married.
girlfriend, not married?
I don't know what you want to call it.
Domestic partner.
The boyfriend of Rihanna, a very popular pop star as well, but he has made a name for himself in hip-hop culture. You talked about how you weren't really a fan of fast fashion. What do you mean by that, especially in context with this collaboration? Because at one point, it's 𝙈𝙨 Rocky, and they're calling you from Canada. But you're almost teetering on the edge if you should take the gig or not. How did you wrestle with that nuance?
I would say I knew I could do it, so why not? And also, why would I give the bag to someone else, too? So I just had to think smart and also put the ego to the side. And then with these pants, he decided to put it in his own brand and collection, and that's where he mass-produced, because I only do the samples. So with that, that was very beautiful, and it just pushed me to continue to do my art, and that was, up from there.
It's fire.
So tell me the creative process. Like, obviously there's
So it was 3 pair of pants.
3 pair of pants. Okay.
Laid out Levi jeans, and I'm like, okay, I gotta put them in each other, and then I did like a straight stitch. If you guys don't know, that's just sewing straight. I did a straight stitch all the way around 3 pants, and then I sewn the boxers together, put the boxers inside the pants, and sewed them all together.
How does he put it on? Like, is it like?
Yeah, the waistband has elastic, so he could put the boxers on, and the pants are super baggy, so that's why he left the top button unbuckled, and then the bottom button is buckled, but he could buckle the top.
He could buckle the
It was separate, or
It's
it's 2 pieces?
It's
Like,
2 pieces of pants, but sewn together.
No, I mean, like, can he put the 3 boxers on first and then the pants, or the
They
whole thing?
all together.
Oh.
Yeah. So within this design too, I moved from Miami like a few months after this design to LA, and I was working for Purple Denim, which is like a denim company, and they seen this design and they wanted to replicate it. And that's when my pride stepped in. I'm like, you can't do it. I don't care for how much money, you can't take my design, replicate it, and call it yours. So
That's
where we
called
had to-
give it up. That's called intellectual property.
Yes.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Yeah, now it just turned into like a science project. So like, you put the top on the bottom and.
Well, if you want to know, I do teach how to sew. I do sewing workshops. So if you ever want to learn how to make these, yeah.
And last question for this one: how does closing the deal look like? Does ASAP Rocky go to their people and say, "Okay, this is what I want. I'm gonna wear it for the concert," or is there like a long process that takes months? Tell me about the business part of that.
Well, it also depends on the time period. So if a brand or a company comes to me with a concept, it takes months because you have to source the fabric, you have to build the pattern, you have to sew it together, a sample. If that sample don't fit, you gotta take it all apart. You gotta start from the beginning. So when it comes to things like this, in a 1-day time frame, that's why I say I will never do it again. But if it does come into play where I have months, it's more of like the whole process, and it's creative process, and also how the person wants to feel. I think that's the most important thing. How you want to feel, how you want to move, how you want to make sure that your wardrobe equipped. I made this skirt about like 2 years ago, and I love pockets, but I also want to look girly. My mom always said, "Why you don't wear a skirt?" So I upcycled 2 pair of pants, and I just sewed them together with a skirt and just do some elastic work. And this is my everyday, but it's how I want to feel, and I think that's the most important thing. It's not about the money to me. It's more so me seeing it done, the finish line, if I could do it.
And before we go to the next slide, obviously, architect turned fashion designer. How did you know you could do this? Because I'm horrible at craftsmanship, so I need to.
Trial and error. I was never perfect, and I'm still not perfect. It's a learning journey. So me doing it is more so me pushing my boundaries to like push my boundaries, crying, drawing blood with needles going through my finger, customers saying, "Oh, this don't fit, I don't like this, my stomach, my gut," and like just really embracing that whole realm. Designing clothes and making wardrobe for a body is just like architect. So it's like you really have to get the measurements, the numbers right, the math right, It's trial and error.
It's a science project.
And life is trial and error too, so that's how you gotta treat it. So this design here, this was a trial and error design, right? So I dropped this, I would say, for my 3rd collection, and this was one of my most proud pieces. I had a fashion show at Red Rooster. I was their first fashion show. Woo woo, Black owned. Yay! So with this piece, I love paisley. I love nice paisley pattern, and I wanted to just hone into like what I love, silhouettes, and just really tapping back into the past, different silhouettes where it worked with what's now, but also paying homage to like what was then. I love a nice bell-bottom set, and I love sets. So my mom, growing up, she always had like a nice set piece. So me seeing her and seeing how she dressed, and she always had a seamstress, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. So anything I design, I love to design in a set. And I would say my most favorite realm of making clothing is within menswear. I feel like men lack wardrobe. Yes. And I wear men's clothing. Like I'll go to a store, go in the men's section and just tailor it to me and make it fit. Women's, we got it all. So, we could go to
Everything.
Fashion
Yeah.
Nova, we could go to our
Everything.
Sheens. So just me catering to men, I think that's my biggest realm, and that's where I want to focus on. So my last collection, I had about 32 men, and the inspiration was based in the 70s, but modern technology. And I just did my bell bottoms. I did textile designs. I worked with leathers. And it was a beautiful experience. And this was one of the pieces from the show.
It looks like a Jackson Pollock painting, right? and you said your first fashion show was at Red Rooster, which
That was probably my fourth. That
your
was my
fourth one.
Yeah,
It's
my fourth.
a black-owned restaurant by Marcus Samuelson, Ethiopian American guy,
In Overtown.
in Overtown,
Yeah.
Miami. All
Yes,
right.
yes, yes.
Okay, the next one. Ooh.
Yes. So this is my best friend. I really wanted to use her as an inspiration, especially for her own realm. These goals, I can't talk with them. I'm sorry. And I also like to stay true to my own pattern. So I have my signature patterns patent, just like, we have to have our stuff owned by us. So anything I design, I use my own patterns. I design it from scratch. This one took me 2 days. I don't work in 2 days, but for her, I will work in 2 days because she needed it. She always hit me up last minute. I worked with upholstery fabric. So this is actually furniture fabric that I use to make a blazer set. And the inspiration behind this was more of like a Japanese kimono vibe. I wanted to mix it with like black, very like textile woven features, and we made it work.
At the top of our conversation, we talked about the importance of intellectual property and protecting that as much as we can. You just talked about your own pattern. Can you describe that a bit? Like you have your own specific pattern?
I have a rack full of like paper patterns, which I kind of like scan, digitalize them, sent them through to get patent, just so that anything that I do for my brand moving forward when I am dropping my collection very soon, no one could copy it. Shein, your Fashion Novas, those realms, if I even see it, I'm pressing report, No, you have to because, within this realm that we live in, technology develops. Anything that we see on our phone, we see ads, anything that we're thinking about, or like, oh, I want to do this, and then you see someone else do it, it's like, oh, come on, I should have thought faster than that. So even living in that realm of just staying true to self, staying true to your patterns, not even looking at the next person, just trying something new. Even if someone else might think it look crazy, as long as you feel good about it, just do it,
And so it's pending a patent right now.
Yep.
Ooh, that's amazing. How common is it to seek your own patents in the fashion industry?
Not
I mean,
so common.
obviously you two are very ambitious people and you care about intellectual property, but is it a common occurrence?
No.
Why?
I would say because the knowledge with what we were taught in high school, we were taught to be employees, not business owners, not investors. So they're not going to teach us, this is what you need to do to keep your name, And I really want, because I have a son, so things that I do, it's gonna get passed down, so I have to keep it in my name.
That's a delicate balance between like
That's
being
my
an artist.
dad.
Hey, what's up, Pops? And that's a delicate balance between maintaining your creative freedom and just being an artist, but also
Yeah.
having to be a businesswoman.
Yeah.
How do you balance the two?
Stay true to self. It's not about the money, because I could get offered something where it may diminish my character, or it may lower the value of my things, like my items that I create. So within business, it's always based on the opportunity, and it's always based off of the person and the vibe. I can't create anything for anybody. I can't work with anybody. But if I believe in it, and I always ask the question, why am I doing this? What is the story? And if I can't believe in that, and if I don't really coexist with the story, I don't do it. And Lyndon, He used to be my manager. He's like, Count, just do it. I'm like, Lyndon, I can't. I'm not gonna do it. He's like, it's this much. I'm like, I can't do it. And he used to pull my hair. He used to be like, what are you doing? But it's just really staying true to self, you know, like, because if you don't love it, why are you doing it? You know, we might not love our jobs, but we doing it. So it's like, there's a balance. You really have to balance.
Somebody felt that. Somebody said, hey, man, I hate my job. That's why I'm here. I think this is the last slide, I believe.
Yeah, this is the last slide. So this was another opportunity that I was blessed with. I always say, I need to stop doing that. This is my first time speaking in front of a large crowd. But I do feel like when I do get these blessings to work with these higher brands, I really take it serious. So this is my first time working with 𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙩𝙤 and What's Good. 𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙩 is a reggae artist, son of Lauryn Hill, and I was able to create his Hugo outfit. I collaborated with Hugo Boss for F1, and then I made this blazer here for What's Good. She's an influencer, and this project, again, came out of the blue, a blessing. I got called up, like, and the A$AP Rocky collab was before I was leaving Miami. This is when I came back to Miami, literally the same week. And then this allowed me to stay. So really, home is home. Ain't no place like home. I get my blessings here because I'm from here. And although we travel, we may see the world, we got a home into where we're from. So this was another blessing. I made this tracksuit. So Hugo is an interesting brand. I was the only black girl in the office. I'm like, okay, I gotta prove myself. I always feel like I gotta work like 3 times harder. So YG walked in, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm nervous. I listened to his song 3 hours before this. Oh my God. So he was like, I love this long sleeve. This was a woman's long sleeve. And then he loved this Hugo top. But he was like, I want them to be together. So I cut off the long sleeve off the woman's crop top. And then I sewed them on the man's shirt just so that he could just have a regular crew neck t-shirt with the long sleeves. And then the track pants were just regular track pants, and yeah.
Man, that's awesome. And YG Marley is, of course, related to Bob Marley, for some of y'all noticed. I see Marley at the end, yeah. Let's talk about the aesthetics of it, right? You have tires in the back. Yeah. Typically, when I think of like a car shop, I'm thinking about that old school mechanic with the one cigarette on the side of his jaw. Like, it's the alternator. That's what's wrong. It got to be the alternator.
Literally.
You know what I'm saying? He walks out, well, that'll be $38. You know,
but this
like,
is
what?
where you meet streetwear with luxury. So I feel like streetwear and luxury meets hand in hand. And with this, I wanted to merge both. So I'm like, I don't want to put her in anything baggy. Let me taper this blazer that they have. I cut off the sleeves off the blazer, and then I hemmed the blazer. It was like a man blazer. So I tapered it to her waist, and then I hemmed it up a little bit. I told her put on a Hugo bra. And then that's where being a seamstress and styling play hand in hand. And then they created this look for her. But this was for F1, so I wanted to meet that realm of what they want with also staying true to self. So that's why I made his pants a little flare and baggy at the bottom, because I love a nice bell bottom. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some F1 fans up in here.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like, you know, when we think of fashion, we think male, female, right? You said you use some of the fabric that's typically for female, that you use a male blazer. So as a seamstress, that's out the picture, right? Like, you could use it's cross-gender in terms of how you seam your clothes, right?
Right. I love a nice androgynous taste. You know, I dress androgynous too. My dad was like, why are you wearing all these baggy clothes? I'm like, because. He always used to get on my back. But I love mixing both because as women, we never want to be sexualized. So I like to meet it in the middle where it's like, oh, he's not looking at my flaunts. He's actually looking at my eyes. So, yeah.
Do you think fashion tends to trend? And that's the beauty of fashion, right? It's that creativity. Now you're seeing men paint their nails. Now, some people still don't like it. Nonetheless, it's a reality that's on the ground. Right. Do you think, like, people are typically trying to push the boundaries of fashion or retain some sort of culture?
I would say culture is already in it, you know, especially with us melanated folks, we are culture in a way, and everybody has their own culture. So as long as you stay true to self, who cares what the norms are, you know? Even if, that's really, someone may be like, oh, why you paint your nails? It's like, because it's polished. I could take it off with polish remover. It's not permanent. So just really staying true to self, because in this world, people really want to put you in a box. And there's no boundaries for who you are and what you believe in.
Ooh, bars, no boundaries. Ooh. I really love this format where we're not just sitting down and talking, but please give it up for Countess Brown.
Thank
She
you.
can
Yes,
sit
sir.
down now.
Questions for Countess. I'm curious about the fact that you're a woman designer and you do menswear, which is highly unusual. Usually, we've seen men for years do women fashions, but rarely do you see women. There's only a few, like Donna Karan, just to name just a minority. So can you speak about how that is perceived by men in the industry when you're kind of walking into their territory?
I do feel like men love a woman touch, even if a woman is styling a man. A man will always ask, like, babe, do you like this? Do I look good? A man always asks a man always asks a woman about their opinions, and also is about that delicate touch, how you want things to fit. A woman knows a body more than a man does. I'm sorry. That's why you see men sagging their jeans, or it's too tight, or it's too loose. And also, because I have a son, I felt like it hits harder because I create all his wardrobe, and I know how he wants to feel, and as a man, I do feel like men don't have as many options. So I really wanted to push those boundaries, and also me being a woman, I would go into a dressing room with a man spitting. It's nothing crazy, and he'd be like, "Oh my God, don't see me." I'm like, really? And you would expect that from a woman being fitted for a man, but it's so interesting. I love it though. And I love doing women's wardrobe too, but I do feel like you have to see what's missing. So that I felt like that was missing within like fashion and being a woman too. Thank you. I appreciate that question.
Okay, my question is for Castro. So I know that you are a West Palm Beach native. We talked about family, you talked about home, Countess mentioned that. How does home show up in your designs to you?
Oh, man. So I think when you travel with your family, like everywhere is home. Like you can make a space anywhere. I remember in 2018, when my daughter was first born, I took my family to Portland, Oregon. I was attending a sneaker school called Pinso. And my daughter was only 3 months old, and my wife, she packed up everything as a new mom and came there, and that became home, right? And I think that everything that I do is to impact my home, whether it be the legacy that I leave behind, whether it be the messaging that is shared through the eyes of my brand, or through the products of my brand, or through the stories that we tell. The hope is to influence other people and their families, to influence people to be better, to influence people to try to do bigger things, to dream larger. And so for me, those very same messages, and there's a very personal aspect of family about my brand as well. And I'm not gonna go too far into that, but if you look in any one of our pieces of headwear, you will see the name of another person that was to be a part of my family. And if it wasn't for that, there would be none of this. And so I think it is innately embedded in everything that I create. And it is a part of the storytelling. I mean, everything that I am has come from all of my experiences, and a good significant portion of those experiences came from my upbringing. I moved around a lot. I went to probably 13, 14 different schools coming up. And so I had to take in things from different spaces, meet different people, assimilate in different places. And when you do that, you have a much broader understanding of culture. And I think all of that has influenced my desire to create my reality and to create things to inform other people's reality.
As a West Palm Beach native, that was very, very inspiring, everything you just said. My question is actually for both of you. What is the best advice you've received as creatives? And then also, what is the worst advice you think that you've received as creatives?
Oh, you trying to get spicy?
The worst.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wait, start with the good or bad? Which one?
the good. So I'm just gonna go with the first thing that I thought of. There's a guy, his name is Joe Fresh Goods, and he's a streetwear designer out of Chicago, I think. And he's super dope, does a bunch of sneaker collabs and whatnot. And I was like fanboying when I met him, right? And I had a conversation with him and kind of asked a similar question, right? And the answer that he gave me is something that stuck with me. And he was like, when you have the idea, do it. Like when you have the idea, put it out. And since then, I read this book, and I can't even remember the name of the book right now, but it's about resistance. And in the book, it talks about when an idea comes to you, it's not your idea to own, it's the universe's idea. So you have to expect that that idea exists in this entire ecosystem of people thinking, right? And if you don't do it, it's gonna move on from you to somebody else. And I truly believe that, and I've seen it happen to me several times. And so I think when you have that idea, get it out of your system, because it's begging to be out in that moment. I'll wait on the worst, I gotta think about it.
I would say my good would be, it was a good friend of mine's, and she was like, who cares what people think? Just create it, you know? And after that, I was just like, okay, I'll just make whatever I want. Like, that was the good advice that I received from that individual, because after that, like I said, it was no boundary of like what was put together. You know, even if it was upcycle, I'll go to the thrift store, get some quilts, get some denims, and just mix it all together and see what blob I created. And it was beautiful to me. And just not fitting in a norm, which was a good advice. The worst advice I got was to settle in my career. Oh, you should just stay here. Oh, you should just be a teacher. You're good here. And I think that was the worst advice I got. And I didn't settle, because I knew, I was like, I feel uncomfortable. Let me break free. You know, I was like, I don't like this. Yeah.
I still don't know what the worst advice I got was, but I will say that some of the worst advice that you might get if you have any type of company or anything creative that you do starts with, you know what you should do? Yeah, and if somebody says that, just, turn off your brain for a couple moments.
I think you had a question.
Any, oh,
I'm sorry. Wait for Quincy.
It's just a pleasure listening to both of you.
Thank
I mean,
you.
what a gift. But I got to go back to this baseball cap, if you don't mind, for just
No
a
problem.
second. I want to know, you're taking something that is such an icon and to recreate it, to get it patented.
Yeah.
I mean, can you talk just a little bit about that process?
Yeah.
That must have been some creative exploration.
It is. And so my favorite type of architecture is deconstructivist architecture. And one of my favorite architects is a woman by the name Zaha Hadid, who passed away. And
Somebody's a fan. She said,
look at that. And she made a statement one time. Actually, she used to do interviews while smoking cigarettes, which is wild inside, right? But she gave an interview one time, and they asked her, and I'll get to your question. They asked her what she liked about architecture and what she liked about fashion. And she said, architecture defines a period of time, and fashion defines now. And that is the epitome of my belief system, right? But to get to redesigning headwear, when you enter into a space, right? And when I got into headwear, oddly enough, I don't even think he knows this, but Nate, who's sitting in the audience, I went to an event that he was hosting. I was already creating clothing, and he had on this hat that I thought was dope. But I was like, I could do better. But doing better, it's true story though. True story. I don't, but it was a 5-panel for sure. And so it was dope. I said it was dope. But in doing better, like I realized, like if I'm going to enter into a space where there is an abundance of existing inventory in a bunch of different spaces that people have an opportunity to buy, whatever I create needs to stand out. Like it needs to be recognizably different. It needs to be so different that it makes you uncomfortable. And if I don't make you uncomfortable when I do it, then I probably failed at what I was trying to accomplish. And I think the Sunika, at first glance, it's like, what is this? It's like sculptural, like why does this have this extra strap? Like it makes you ask all of these questions, but for somebody that's inquisitive, for somebody that's curious, it makes them intrigued. And that's what I wanted to accomplish. And so the way I needed to get there was to understand what existed. So I had to take apart hats to understand, okay, this is how it goes together. So I know that this is possible. I know that I could potentially do this because I'm not a melon, so I never did it before, right? So after taking things apart and deconstructing them, I was able to take those pieces, manipulate those pieces, almost like I'm playing with Legos, and put them together based on sketches that I created to then fully pull together this idea, not only so I understood it, but so that a manufacturer could understand it. And that was, I mean, such a long process. And if you see the documents, they look like architecture documents. Like there's components on there I had to do in 3D, but that's how I ended up landing on creating that piece. And there's other ones that are coming as well.
I have a question for Countess. Typically, when you think about the word competition or being competitive, you think of athletes, right? Have you ever considered artists as being competitive? And I want to ask you two this question. Are you in competition with yourself? And within the fashion industry, how does the word competition play out? Are fashion designers competitive amongst themselves, and to what extent?
I'm definitely in competition with myself. I try to not even look at Instagram, social media, websites, other brands, other designers. And then my biggest thing is I do my business plan like twice a year. So I always try to see where I made a mistake and like where I could one up myself. Because if I see that I'm still in the same place or I'm doing the same silhouettes or I'm still in the same income, I always feel like, okay, how can I one up myself? So I would say I'm in a competition with myself because if you look at main media, everything looks alike. You know, everybody look alike on Instagram, on social media in general. And yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's the
What about you, David? What are your thoughts about artists and their relationship with competition, however it may manifest, whether they're in competition with themselves or in competition with someone else?
I think competition is healthy. Like I think competition gives you something to reach for. For me, if I'm going to compete, I want to compete with somebody that's better than me, that I'll recognize, that I admire, that I look at the things that they create, and I'm like, ooh, I wish I could do that, because the idea of competing with them makes me want to get in the gym. And I think that's the only way that you can actually be better, not by competing with somebody, but by staying in the gym. I am probably my own worst critic. Like my wife and I were having a conversation about what success is on the way up here. And I think many people that I probably grew up with might consider me that, but I don't consider myself that. And I think it's because I have a certain image of freedom that I aspire to that I know I'm not there yet, right? And that is the thing that is like, it's just in you, right? Because I want it so bad. I just want to be free so bad. And we spend so much time worrying about things that don't matter at all, right? There's been days where I'm like, man, I just want to go and spend time on a farm, right? And just live there and like have a family compound and just, maybe we have our own currency too, you know? I can just not have to deal with nobody. But I think because of that, I'm constantly in competition with myself to outdo myself, to outpace myself, to outgrow myself. And I think that I've been successful at. I'm unrecognizable to myself today in comparison to who I was 5 days ago. Like,
I was really about to partner off with that because I never heard like, oh, competition is healthy. Because I was a dancer, so I stopped dancing, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pursue fashion, you know. But when I look at wardrobe and fashion, I always look in the past, and I get inspired by the past, and I always try to up the past, not the future, like what's present. So I like that. Thank you.
Do you want to do one more? Yeah, one more question. Oh, right here.
We are on time. Look at us. Look at us.
So on the theme of looking into the past, I was wondering if you guys had opinions on this year's Met Gala theme and your potential interpretations of it.
it's
Controversial.
It's dandy. Is it dandy? Right? I feel really good knowing that, by the way. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm not a typical fashion head. Like I kind of don't look at the fashion magazines, but I'm very much so inspired by the Met Gala, and I think the way that I may play with this idea is more so in marketing and storytelling, just because we don't have the speed to meet the time in which the Met Gala happens. But the dandy idea, I think, is also, it's kind of this thing about, I'll just tell you my opinion. I think, again, Black culture influences everything. And you can see a through line from a starting point of paying attention to this kind of dandy culture to, oh, it's really cool, then it starts to be pervasive in society, and then boom, the most luxurious event in the world is doing it. I think that's super dope, and I think the way that we'll do it is probably in some of our messaging around the time frame that it happens.
I would say I really like how the past makes a whole 360. You know, I love just seeing, especially just culture in itself, become re-existing and just paying homage to like our ancestors. I just really feel like, you know, it's the way you have to handle the Met Gala too, because us on the outside, we don't know what the Met Gala really is. I don't know. I'm a big conspiracy theorist, so I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. But it's just really beautiful to see just everyone come together just to pay homage to a time period, a style, a fashion, a culture, things that our ancestors practiced a long, long time ago. And hopefully that inspires our youth, because I do feel like they're very untapped with the past, and, you know, just seeing that do a whole 360, you know, that's very beautiful. And everybody could relate in a way, you know.
All right, you beautiful mammals. Again, my name is Wilkine Brutus, multimedia journalist for WLRN, South Florida's NPR. I'm also the founder of Maps and Diaries, a storytelling platform. Countess Brown, please give it up for Countess Brown. And where can they find you?
You can find me on social media. It's my name, Countess Brown, spelled like Countess, COUNTESS.Brown, where you can see most of my work. I am dropping a collection late December, so look forward to that. And I also do sewing workshop, community sewing workshops. So if you ever want to join one of my sewing workshops, just click my link in my bio, and, you know, you get your one-on-one blessings.
Got you. Oh, appreciate you. I could have did both. That sounds crazy.
And give it up for David Castro. Give it up for David Castro. And where can they find you, David?
Don't mind me. I'm sorry. I'm immature. But You can find me personally at on Instagram. I am Castro is my what is it called? I'm old. Handle.
Yeah,
Okay,
handle.
boom. And for my brand, it's just Dungeon Forward everywhere. DUNGEON forward. Same on every platform.
I also want to give a special thanks to FLAVARS, which is an black-owned artist collective that basically helped run this event. And 𝙇𝙊𝙪𝙨𝙪 is the guy over there, that far right corner. Please give it up for FLAVARS.
Yes, sir.
This is a co-collaboration between 𝙇𝙊𝙪𝙨 and FLAVARS, myself, and the Norton Museum of Art. The first log-in event was last year, and we did the power of artificial intelligence in education and art. And this year was the power of black art and fashion. Next year, I don't know what the hell the power of what is gonna be, but I'm working on it. And so maybe I'll email you guys for some ideas. We'll see. Thank you, beautiful mammals.
Hey.